Well, next we'll go ahead and jump into the predictive behavior assessment and show you how customers can use it not just to hire, but also to coach and develop their talent. When used intentionally, this can be one of the most powerful tools within the hiring process. At a high level, this assessment measures job-related competencies, things like communication style, adaptability, and decision-making. As a recruiter, what I really appreciated is that this is not a pass-fail test, it's simply directional.
Yeah, and that distinction is going to be really critical whenever you're thinking about it. Customers, most of our customers tend to see strongest outcomes are the ones who actually position this as a decision support and development tool in their process rather than just a personality type test. This is because, or this should actually become another piece of your puzzle whenever we're thinking larger hiring. So in combination with one-way interviews or reference checks, this helps make a more informed hiring decision and not just to be treated as a pass or fail stage within your process. So what this really is going to give hiring teams is going to be context, not just more data, but better data whenever we're thinking about it. So it's actually going to be where it can help you understand a candidate's likelihood of better success within a role based on those specific competencies and the results that come from this assessment.
And when recruiting, this is helpful because I'm no longer guessing what good looks like within the candidate. I'm evaluating candidates against a profile that was built specifically for that role. And that's exactly how I actually previously used it in a previous role. When we rolled this out, we tested the assessment against 15 to 20 internal employees who ranged in experience, tenure, performance, but we're all sitting in the same role. And what stood out was patterns, shared strengths, and consistent areas of development. And that's when it clicked for us. We weren't looking to clone employees, but rather it was more so about understanding what success looked like within that particular role.
Yeah, and that's a really key realization, that we see across, a lot of customers. It's another great benefit of the assessment is going to be that in addition to the behavioral profile fit score that it provides you, the assessment will also uncover a candidate's individual top 10 behavioral competencies, which offers some additional valuable insight beyond just that one defined job profile.
These top 10 competencies are exactly what I used when I was creating our custom behavioral profile. I was able to look at consistencies across all of those internal employees and really focus in on 6 to 8 ones that happen to show up more often and weigh them based on the experience and tenure of those employees. And from there, I really just built that custom behavioral profile to be able to use within our recruiting experience and our recruiting workflows.
Yeah, and when I'm talking to my clients, that's how a lot of my customers actually utilize it. They look for trends and not perfect matches. And that shift, in that mindset is what's really going to turn the assessment into a strategic hiring tool rather than just another step within your hiring process. And we often see this used even outside of a traditional type role. So for example, I was working with a manufacturing company who, they were hiring for a plant supervisor. And they use a predictive behavioral assessment to better understand their leadership style and also communication before that hire was even made. And what the customer shared with me was that it really helped them not only select the right candidate, but it also allowed them to adjust their onboarding and also coaching approach from day one whenever they completed this assessment.
And kind of on that of being able to use this moving forward and in a lot of different places, not only are the results really easy to see within the Spark Hire platform, but they're also really easy to download and share with other stakeholders or other people within the process. There's a hiring report, a coaching report, and an individual report. We'll go ahead and jump into the hiring report. This is going to be one that is going to be really beneficial for your actual hiring team as it gives a fit score and overall score, but it also digs into the different percentages and where they may need areas for development, things of that nature. So this one has a lot more of the insights and numbers and analytics and things. Whereas if you jump into the coaching report, this is going to be great to provide to maybe a future manager or someone who will be over them and help to kind of develop their talent. This is really going to focus more so on the different areas. So it doesn't give a fit score for the role, but more so just gives you insights to each particular competency, where they can kind of go coach them and just really gives them insights on what these might actually mean. The last report is going to be the individual report. This is actually created to give to your candidate. So whether that is actually shared or you go over it with them, this report isn't going to have a fit score on it. And it's more so going to kind of focus on the motivations and the habits that that candidate has so that they are able to dig deep and really kind of develop themselves, whether that's internally in your company or externally in the future.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's really amazing all of the data that this one assessment can provide your hiring teams. And all are going to be beneficial whenever they're used correctly throughout your actual interview process. One of the best times that I've personally seen customers use this assessment is going to be right before that final interview stage. And by doing that, what it's going to allow is those hiring teams to come into that conversation with your candidate with deeper insights into their strengths and also their areas of development.
And on areas of development, this is where it really showed as a value to me as a recruiter. I could go in, take a look at maybe what areas they needed to develop, and it allowed me to better prepare questions based on those lower competencies or even mid-grade competencies. That way I could gauge for myself whether this was something that could be developed or may actually be a disqualifier.
Yeah, and that's a really great point, Mackenzie. And another story that comes to mind is recently I was working with a medical office that was hiring physicians, and they actually used the hiring report to initially or intentionally design their final interview. What they done was they took the hiring report in combination with ChatGPT, and it actually helped them generate follow-up questions to be able to dig deeper in the final interview round. And this allowed the team to be or feel more prepared to be able to have more meaningful questions to ask the candidate. And in reality, what this showcased is that to the candidate, it showed them that the organization was taking the time to invest not only in the candidate's future with training and development, but also the future development of the organization overall. And I kind of took this a step further with some of my other clients and kind of suggested it as a tip to like staffing and recruitment agencies I work with, as well as government offices. So think about maybe police departments and fire departments who really love this idea to be able to gain deeper insights into a candidate before that final round interview to be able to put the right candidate or right person within that position that they were hiring for.
Yeah, and I think candidates really respond well to this when it's positioned as development. They feel that you have taken that extra step to kind of give your insights or give your input. And when it's presented, whether that is in an interview question or the actual report itself, and you kind of frame it as, we reviewed this and we want to learn more about that and approach in these different areas, a candidate feels a lot more seen and not so much tested. This shows that you're not only invested in their growth, but you're not just evaluating them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, really whenever used the right way, again, it really improves the overall candidate experience, and it really provides you as a recruiter, with meaningful data to be able to use throughout your process. So our predictive behavioral assessment, it really gives the hiring teams that deeper visibility into what's going to drive success within a role. That clarity really leads to having better hires, stronger teams, and also a long-term impact. So as we wrap up with behavioral assessment today and kind of recap here with the predictive behavioral assessment, just think about it as not a pass or fail type tool. This is definitely designed to enable to make more confident data-driven decisions within your hiring. And then also real value really is going to show up with how your team applies the insights that you do gain from this assessment, whether it's going to be refining interview questions or identifying long-term development and those opportunities later down the line. And then also lastly, because this has flexibility to it, it's a natural fit across the entire candidate journey. From early screening to final interviews to onboarding, this is really going to be a really great assessment to input into your actual experience.
Mackenzie, Mark, thank you. Excellent overview of the predictive behavioral assessment. I want to point out something as well, is that what I think is really exciting about this is that for a very, very long time, most assessments have been on a per assessment basis. And Spark Hires really flipped the script. We acquired a company that had 50 years in the making. So there's a lot of science, behavioral science behind this assessment over decades, honestly. And we flipped the script a little bit and actually made it available on a subscription basis so that it's unlimited. You can use it in many different situations. And I'm sure, Mackenzie, in your situation, it's like when you take the per unit cost off of it, and you start to really think about how you can change your hiring process that way.
Definitely, yes.